Hello, everyone. This is Howard Fox, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Samantha Johnson is our guest today. Samantha is the Director of Tourism for Visit Staunton. Samantha, good morning and welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Howard. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, for our listeners, where is Stanton?
Yeah, so we are located in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley right here in Virginia. So it's such a convenient location for so many. I mean, we're only around 2 hours from DC, just a little bit over 2 hours from DC, under 2 hours from Richmond. We're so close to Baltimore, Philadelphia, Charlotte. And so we just have this beautiful sweet spot right here in Virginia. And within that, even though we're so close to so many urban and metropolitan areas, like I look out my window and I'm right between the Blue Ridge and the Appalachian Mountain. And so it's just a beautiful spot here in the Shenandoah Valley.
Very nice. And in celebration of this interview, I tried to get a nice shot of the Shenandoah Valley from my
I love
background.
it.
And I remember years ago, I used to fly into DC when I
Mhm.
was in the IT space. I'm a recovering IT business consultant. And I remember how beautiful it was, especially in the fall time frame when you've got those wonderful colors as you're flying over the Shenandoah.
Yeah,
Very
there is
nice.
nothing quite like fall time here, but I think our 3 other seasons are a little underrated too. We're very fortunate to still be in a 4-season area, and each
Okay.
has a little special flair.
Excellent. You know, that is actually, I'm glad you shared that. That's a question I will often ask my guests. And believe it or not, those guests are often in like Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin. So, would you describe your destination as a four-season destination? And they're going to say yes. And it's true because if you don't mind being cold, there's a lot of outdoor activity and in the summer. But in your destination, is it more of a moderate climate that people just get out and about and there's really not a lot of extreme weather conditions?
Yeah, not I wouldn't say extreme on any side, but we definitely feel the changes between each of the 4 seasons. So that's nice. Is we were commenting earlier, we're like, oh, it's feeling a little warmer. Oh, we don't have to have such a heavy jacket today, so we can feel springtime coming, and we are cheering that along. Typically, winters aren't that heavy. Now, this year's been a little funny. We've had a few snowstorms, but we have some residents here that have relocated from New England, and they're like, "That's nothing." So it's really funny to hear just how we perceive the seasons differently. Overall, I would say autumn is definitely our most popular here in Stanton and in the Shenandoah Valley. If anybody's listening and wants to like plan to come out in October, I would say book your hotel now. We stay quite busy, but there's just so much to do and experience in the mountain. But yeah, we are really fortunate to have clear defining 4 seasons without a huge pendulum swing in any direction.
Okay. Okay. Very nice. I have a good friend from graduate school that lives somewhere one of the towns off 81, and she and her husband are very much into the wine tastings. And I know you're all known very much for the wine trail. Now, but let's talk a little bit more about Stanton. For me, it goes without saying, there's just so much history in this area. How long has Stanton been around, and when did tourism and Visit Stanton become an integral part of economic development and attracting folks into the community, whether it's to relocate for a day trip or a weekend trip with the family? When did they tell us a little bit about that history? And when did the Visit Stanton really begin to really have a good focus on the tourism aspect?
Yeah, and so we are very fortunate because Stanton in the city of Stanton, they realize that there's something very, very special here. So talking about our dating, Stanton is so interesting because we're a small town, so a town of about 25,000 people, so a good sweet spot. But it really is. I know everybody's partial to their town, but it really is like if you took a snapshot, it's I think what many people hope to see in small town America. And even just on our street levels, it's so interesting because we are certainly known for our architecture, and it's something that helps us stand out. Is we are very fortunate. We didn't have a lot of burning and things like that post Civil War. And so a lot of our structures are still original. So if you look up, I always know when visitors are in town, because if you walk through downtown on Beverly Street, you see people just looking up, like, where are you guys from? Because it's just amazing and so defined and intricate and detailed architecture all the way through that we're not used to seeing in this modern age. But what I love is when your site comes down to street level, even though we still have that architecture, our storefronts are filled and they're filled with I mean, we have 3, 4 galleries in downtown alone. There's 8 bookstores in the city of Stanton. There's
Really?
Shakespeare's the world's first recreation of Shakespeare's indoor playhouse, Blackfriars, is in downtown Stanton. Hotels are here, lodging is here. There's tons of boutiques and antique shopping. And so it's just such a neat juxtaposition of classic in the architecture with modern artistic expression also, and that's what I love about this community. And so, just over 30 years ago, the city of Stanton decided to invest in themselves, and that's how I view tourism, as making a statement of we are going to invest in ourselves and tell our story, and trust that we're worth people spending their time and their money here because, basically we serve as the destination marketing organization, of course, for the city. So we get to tell its story. And we like telling the story, the true local stories for those that love to come and visit and want to get to know this area. So yeah, we've been a department not super, super long, but a handful of decades now. So we're fortunate.
Okay. What kinds of activities, and when I say activities, we are the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, but if we have visitors coming in with families, friends, what types of activities can they expect to experience while they're in the Stanton area?
Yeah, I think this is such a great place for people that are looking for connective activities. And so what I love about this area is you can either be as involved or as receptive, I guess, of adventure. You can kind of pick your side. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is even taking it from an outdoor adventure perspective, right? I mean, we are 20-minute, only a 20-minute drive from the southern entrance point for the Shenandoah National Park. So Rockfish Gap, 20-minute drive from the entrance point to the national park, 20-minute drive to the Blue Ridge Parkway, which is the nation's most traveled parkway, and it is just gorgeous. So mile marker 0 is right down the road from us. We are right down the road from the Skyline Drive, sorry. And so you can literally hop off and put on your boots and get ready for a hike of all different levels from beginner friendly to you're out there for a lot of hours. So you can be very involved and active and proactive in it. Or there's also that other aspect of connectivity and adventure where we have the Virginia Scenic Railway. I can see it from my window right now. Just an incredible excursion that we are fortunate. It boards literally in downtown Stanton, so you can either walk from your hotel or your restaurant that you've just gone to, board the train for a 3-hour excursion through the mountains, and kind of receive that adventure in a more relaxed manner and leisure manner. So what I love is adventure doesn't mean one thing for everybody. And so you get to kind of define it yourself here. From an artistic standpoint, I mean, we are just so fortunate to have art at every turn. I mean, you'll walk down the street and you'll hear somebody playing a violin on the street or their upright bass or the guitar and just creating or people painting on the sidewalk because they're inspired by the buildings in front of them. I mentioned Blackfriars Playhouse here. We also have another number of other theaters in town, and of course, summertime we are filled with classical music, especially. So we are home to the Heifetz Music Institute, and then also Stanton Music Festival. So it's a great time.
Okay. And I imagine there's just given the climate and location, there are festivals going on throughout the year, I would imagine.
Yeah, so some that I mentioned. So Heifetz is interesting because that's a music institute, and they have a little over 100 now. They've grown students from all over the world, and these are the students in their they are a stream classical music intensive, and they are the peak of their level. And they come here, and what's so interesting is they are refined as a performer here. So they have the
Mhm.
technical skill. that institute builds not only them to the next level, but it teaches them how to be a performer with passion and a smart performer. And
Mhm,
so during that time, there's 2 3-week sessions. And so during that 6 weeks, they have just a number of performances you can go to, free, paid, all different styles throughout town. And then that bleeds into a separate program, which is the Stanton Music Festival. That is a 10-day performance festival where we see around 80 musicians come in. They have over 40 performances in that 10-day span.
mhm.
Again, ranging from free to paid. There's season passes available. And it is just like nothing you've ever seen, especially from classical. Of course, we have Stanton Music Jams that's more alternative and Americana and funky style. And then probably the festival we're most known for is Queen City Mischief and Magic. And
Mm,
so every September, typically the fourth weekend of September, we will be transformed in with about 40,000 wizards and uh, dragons and all kinds of fun stuff here in town. It all started with the celebration of the release of a very popular book series, we all say, and it's just taken on a life of its own, and it is so much fun. It takes up about 16 blocks in downtown
mhm.
where businesses are transformed into a theme. You can have photography all over, the train gets involved, but Queen City Mischief and Magic is unlike anything you've ever experienced before.
Okay, okay. I guess I would be have to ask, what and not to put you on the spot, but what's the one event, activity in the year that you just totally look forward to? You tell all your friends and family, "Come on visit."
Yeah, no, I love QCML, all those festivals I love a lot, but I think something that not only myself, but the entire community really gets excited for is Stanton has, it's called Shop and Dine Out. It lasts from late spring all the way into the tail end of fall. And that was actually an initiative that started during COVID times when a lot of businesses were trying to figure out they didn't have outdoor seating, especially in downtown. I mean, patios weren't as prevalent along the downtown stretch of Main Street area. And so the city came together with the tourism office and businesses and figured out a way to block off streets every weekend.
Mhm,
And there was just such a love for it where people could dine on the street, kids could run up and down the street, businesses could come out, and it became just like an open air it's not a festival in any way,
mhm,
it's just an open air community gathering basically every
mhm,
Friday through Sunday from spring till in the fall, and it was so popular that it's still happening now and well after that, so Friday at 4 o'clock, our public works comes down and we have temporary, barristers that go in to block off the streets for safety, and the entire street of Beverly for 5 plus blocks is just open to pedestrians, and, it's great. You can eat outside, you can just hang out and listen to music outside every weekend, and I always love my favorite thing is on Monday is walking down the street and seeing all the chalk designs where kids have just pulled right there on the middle of the street, and it's a great time. It's a great way to experience the community too.
very nice, and it sounds fascinating, and you've mentioned the community a couple times. How do they feel about living and it's like, I live in Las Vegas. I'm not
Mhm.
a Las Vegas Strip kind of person. I like the desert,
Sure.
but how and Stanton is probably a little microcosm size-wise of, say, Las Vegas activities and that are available everywhere. How do the residents feel to be a part of this tourism experience? What do you hear from them?
I have Just we have the best partners in the world here. When I say partners, I'm talking about any of the attraction businesses, venues that collaborate and have a product to offer. They are a partner to us. Man, so many are just ready to come to the table of how do we refine what we offer to make it even more accessible, make it even better for people to enjoy and participate, not only for visitors, but locals as well, 'cause a place where people like living is a place where people like visiting, and I'm a firm believer that tourism's job is to be a mirror to your community and showing the best light of who you are and what you can accomplish. And when your community is proud and confident, I think that's a place where anybody wants to come in. And not only do they want to visit, but I think that's why people feel very welcome when they're here too, because our community knows who we are. And I think there's pride right now. I mean, anytime a community is growing, there's always that fine line of what does that growth look like? What place does everybody have and how do we do it in a very conscientious way that's responsible? And so that conversation's continuing to happen. But I think there's pride and there's just man, our partners are very, very smart and they all care deeply about what they do.
Okay, very nice. One quick question, and I would love if you would gift us with a tour of your website. I have that up ready to go. But one quick question: what do you feel s- helps stand apart from the other destinations within the Shenandoah Valley? Is it because you've described a lot, so and maybe that is it. But what else do you feel really helps stand apart from the other uh, local destinations?
I think there's a few things. I think on one practical aspect, it's literally our location. Like
Hmm.
geographically, I think we are such a convenient location where people could spend an entire week just in the city of Stanton. But they also have the opportunity um, to branch out in a way that's not overbearing for a visitor. It's very, very easy. I mean, even if you just drew a 45-minute bubble around us of all the things you can experience and not feel like you're spending all of your time traveling to do these different things. So if you're coming out and you do want to do the extreme hike and go to some great trails in the national park, but then you also want to spend a day with air conditioning inside and seeing a great theater performance, you can get both of those in the same itinerary while staying at the same hotel or the same lodging. And so I think geographically, what we can offer, just our convenience to so many different points of interest is a big point. And then also just the variety of what you can experience here at many different price points. It can be as big or it can be as small and close as you would like it to be. So I
Okay.
would say that definitely separates us and the quality product. Just everywhere you turn, there's quality product.
Love it. I love it. Well, I am going to share my screen with the miracle of technology here. And there it is. And all right. So we should be seeing your website.
Yes.
And so take us for a test drive, so to speak.
Yeah, so we encourage people use our website as a great resource. It is to be there to help you plan out your trip. So if you
Hmm.
scroll down down on the page here, so you're going to be prompted to where you can either download directly our new visitor guide there that you'll see in the middle. We are very proud of that. It's a great detail that snapshots so many different ways you can experience Stanton. So you can either reach out and we can mail you a copy if you want that good old hard copy, or if you want it immediately, you can receive that digital copy as well. So that's a great place to start to just plan your trip. On
Hmm.
down the page, you'll see just kind of a breakdown of different aspects that you could have planning your trip, where to stay, eating. I will tell you, we are a culinary destination. There's so much good
Okay.
food here, so definitely check that out. And on down, and I'll pause there and have you go back up and show you a little bit easier of kinda how to break down your trip. So we won't go through it, but if you toggle over things to do at the main top banner, this is where you can really kinda sector out what your interest is. We're not trying to be everything to everybody, but we can certainly point you in the direction of how do you want to enjoy your vacation and your time together. So this is where you can break down each kind of segment that we have. And then if you toggle over to the events page, this here is going to do a couple things. So if you click it like you did and go, and that's just fine, go on down, you're gonna see, our calendar, and I think it's underneath the tab there. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just the ongoing calendar that people submit through with events happening. I know the size is a little bit different there. And then a really neat feature I would love to showcase too is our team works really hard on this. If you toggle back over the events page, let's say you're coming like this weekend and you're like, man, I really want to know like how are people going? And if you just want to toggle over it instead of clicking over the events tab,
Okay.
and then click on the daily and weekly events there if you don't mind.
Okay. I'm not doing very good here. Okay.
You're
There we
doing
go.
just fine. There you
All
go.
right.
So this here, if you this is Stanton on tap, and if you want to scroll on down here, this is a snapshot of a week at a time. So sometimes I know when people look at a calendar of all these events going on, it just gets a little overwhelming. This is
Hmm.
a bite-sized look at what's going on in the community from Thursday to Thursday. It's updated
Okay.
every Thursday coming out. So like when your trip is happening now, take a look at this and this will give you a great place to look at like what are the locals doing? That's a question I
Right.
get asked just yesterday on the sidewalk. Somebody was um wanting a sweet treat. And they're like, do you go to just, like, hang out with coffee and a sweet treat? And so this is a great place to look at that.
Okay. Very
Back at the
nice.
top, you'll see and you can also download this as well if you wanted to keep it in your planning. On
Okay.
eating and drinking, here's another area that you can see, different segments of what's happening. You can select what type of dining option you would like, and then each of those go through, and break down the categories, and you can see each business listing as well with their
Sure.
information to learn
There's
more.
the sweet treats. And by the way, I'm a coffee and tea kind of guy. So where 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 am I going to go for a really good cup of coffee that is not a chain to be named?
And we do have those too. So there's a couple great options here. So By and By, the very first one, that is such a great little spot where you can just sit when it gets warmer. They have a beautiful outdoor garden space that
Hmm.
you can sit with your cup of coffee. Cranberries, I love this. Cranberries actually, they have a great underrated breakfast. They have such a
Hmm.
good breakfast sandwich and also
Hmm.
great vegan and vegetarian options if
Hmm.
anybody's looking for those.
Very nice.
Crucible, tried and true, the great place if you need, like, a meeting to happen while you're in
Right.
town or do a little bit of work, Crucible is a
Right.
great spot. They roast all their beans on site, so you can actually go
Oh,
over and see their giant roaster, and that side that's almost like a brewery almost, so it's really cool to
yeah,
see that.
yeah,
Mike is
yeah. I
called
think you just had me at Crucibles. I love roasted coffee, fresh roasted coffee. So
Oh, it is
perfect.
so good. They have a couple different blends. They have a great, bourbon barrel blend that
Hmm.
is just fantastic, and they also partner, with Redbeard Brewery here, and they have a special line of stouts that they can do too that's really, really good.
Good.
Great place is also Reunion Bakery, you'll see they are only open on the weekends, but they like, starting at 7 a.m., they've got a line ready to go. That is like a weekly picture that you just see. Fresh breads, pastries, a good rich cup of coffee to go with it.
Okay.
Magdalena is another one in town that has just like if you want just like a good fresh pastry, I'm getting
Hmm.
hungry now.
Okay. Well, you can go
You
out
get
and
the
have your
idea.
pastry right after this. So
Yeah,
uh,
probably will.
imagine you walk
Excellent.
right out the door and go get it.
Mhm.
So what would you say a quintessential, Virginia Commonwealth dish in the heart of the Shenandoah Valley is going to be in Stanton? Because I love food, and I respect the fact that you shared the food scene. But if I want local, truly local? Where am I going to go?
So this entire page here, you're going to see over 75 listings of local restaurant establishments. Like it's the thing aspects like this and I know I truly I love living here and being here. It is unheard of in a town of 25,000 people to have over 75 local establishments. So
Hmm.
it really does depend on what your flair is. So we
Okay.
have Wright's Dairy Bar, that is still a drive up style. You can either drive up and order, or you can go inside. They still have the telephone by the booth that you can order with.
Oh wow.
That's been around one of the longest establishments here. If you're wanting a
Okay.
good burger and milkshake,
Okay.
strawberry milkshake. But then you
There you go.
also have styles like Zenandoah is here in town, Buyer Street Bistro, where they source locally sourced items, and Zenandoah, for example, it rotates every week
Okay.
and month depending on what the fresh produce and options are locally. So if you
Okay.
want good locally sourced food, and then you can go all the way through to high-end experience like Maud and the Bear that
Hmm.
is owned and operated by a James Beard nominated chef that
Okay.
could be anywhere in the world, and he's creating right here. So you can really have that full line of burger and milkshake that's delicious and will rock your world all the way through, like you see there, Bottom the Bear and have a 7-course meal. And so it really is. It's we're eating good here. We're eating
No
good. How
doubt.
about it?
Well, you know, some and you have all this outdoor activity available, whether hiking, biking, trail running, so you kinda work it off. I love that.
Yeah, and everybody's different. So, like you see Marinos on the screen there. They were a long time establishment here. Great breakfast, great lunch, dinner items. But they have jam sessions every week of different styles. So they are known for their bluegrass jam sessions that happen throughout the
Oh,
week.
nice.
So check out their schedule. But if you're coming and you're like, you know what? I love a jam. Bring your instrument and come jam. It's all are welcome.
I love it. I love it. Anywhere else you'd like to show us before we, head back
Yeah, and so
for our
something to
main.
keep an eye on, especially as you're looking. So if you toggle over plan your trip, you can go through trip ideas. And then also at the top, you'll see two tabs there at the main top. One is our blog. We post those weekly. So we have weekly themes and content that's coming out that can help guide you if you're looking as you're coming on your own solo
Mhm,
traveling for a business, or if you're coming with a family. We just celebrated Margarita Day here, so that was
mhm.
this fun. So there's tons of themes, look for that. And then ongoing, if you're just like, this sounds like interesting. I want to keep it on my radar when we're ready to travel. You
Mhm.
can also sign up for our newsletter. So at the main top, you'll see the tab that says newsletter and travel guide. If you click that, it's real simple. We don't spam you with stuff. We just send out our weekly updates of what's going on,
Love
and
it.
different plans and trips that you can have and when our partners are having special deals. So sign
Very
into
good.
that, make sure to add you in.
Very good. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking us on this tour of the website,
Thanks
and
for asking that. We never get
yeah.
asked to do that. So that was great. Thank you.
Well, yeah, and I'm like the running joke, and of course, I'm gonna have to share this now, is I'm always looking for my next place to live, and
Yeah.
my friends, who live up in the area said, "You have to check out the area." And after chatting with you today and seeing Stanton, I'm thinking, "Huh, if I do have to move somewhere, I don't know, Stanton might just very well be,
Yeah.
at the top of the top 10 list or somewhere in there." But
Yeah.
just I mean, I'd love to visit and just kind of explore it. It looks fascinating.
I'd love
And
to
so
have
really, I think the your destination as a tourism organization and the community just have a lot to be proud of. You have a lot to offer. So I love that. So let's go back. Okay, we should be back to ourselves now. And so this again, thank you for taking us on this tour. This was great. And what else kind of jumps out at you for you if you'd want to share with our community about why they should plan a visit to Stanton?
I think 2025 is an interesting time. I think everybody has their own baggage and weight and stresses, and I can't suggest and recommend traveling anywhere enough. I think it's a great way for us to reset as people, whether you're going by yourself or family or friend. What a great way to learn to trust each other and to rebuild our relationships and just get back to what matters. But it's also a great way to learn that we are not all that different, like really when it
Right.
comes down to it. And so the more people can travel, the better. Um, we are very fortunate here in Stanton. So I moved to this area actually under a year ago, and
Really?
we were in a different state, and kind of the point of, like you said, it's like, where's the next place we live? And it wasn't even that, but we knew we were just ready for another adventure. And when we got here, we were kind of deciding, like, do we make this big jump? Do we not? We just kind of took the weekend and walked around and looked. And what struck me, and kind of I think I mentioned this before, is the balance of there were the big things, right? Like, yes, we have the American Shakespeare Center, like, that's unheard of in this in a small town, but it's incredible and world renowned. We're home Woodrow Wilson Presidential Library, the Virginia Scenic Railway. We have the largest open air, historical museum in Virginia right here. There's so many major things, but it was also the little things that struck me. It was that we have 8 bookstores in a town this size, and at that time, 2024, that you could go in and out of shops easily. It was having people, like, open the door and talk to my son. My son was under 2 at the time, and so it was the big things, but it was also the little things that when you put it all together, you could create how to make your own magic from. If it's the big things in your life that you're wanting to celebrate, you could go all out here. But also, there's so many ways to make magic here out of the little everyday things that sometimes we just need a recharge in.
Mhm.
And that's truly what I love about Stanton and this area. And it's why we decided to take the jump to move here. So if you're moving here or just coming for a weekend, I hope everybody feels the sense of recharge and connection that I have felt.
Well, that's wonderful. And another series that I'm working on deals with talk about recharging mental health and nature and the connection between the
Well,
two. And what I love about what you have shared, and I was thinking about it as we're kind of navigating the photos in the downtown. What I miss here in Las Vegas, and my roommate has a wonderful, gorgeous backyard, even in the heat of the summer. We are totally in the oven, but I like to
yeah,
sit outside with a cup of coffee and just relax, hear the birds. I also love just sitting outside in a park outside of a coffee shop and just observing, listening,
yeah,
and I miss that, and that's what I saw as you were sharing about Stanton. There's just so many ways you can just unwind and recharge using
yeah,
your words, and, so it makes it for a fascinating, community, and
yeah.
really appreciate you taking the time to share for us. Before we head out, I've got a couple series or a, I don't know, pieces to the episodes that I produce. One is called the aha moment, which I think you just kind of shared a little bit about your story, and I love that because you know I my sense is, and I see it when you talk about Stanton, you love what you do. You're in the tourism business, and literally you get to walk right outside your door, and the world is your oyster, so to speak. And I love that. I'm a little envious of that, by the way. But
I mean, I think you
but
gotta get you down here.
you gotta get me down there. I've got a great podcast idea, by the way, but okay,
Okay.
that's for another time.
All right.
What would you like to leave with our audience? And we call this the insight to go. This kind of little a nugget that you'd like to share with our audience about either why you do what you do, or why they need to visit Stanton, or why they need to take some time to recharge. What would be your insight to go that you'd like to leave with them?
So I think when we look at like the work we do and hopefully everybody listening is either passionate about the work they do during their normal schedule or the work they do in their home or their community or their family. There's so many different aspects of how you can define your work and what you give. And I remember having a conversation a couple years ago because I have a very, very fun job. I am not gonna lie. I have a blast. But there's also it can also be tough and it can be stressful and it can we work with a lot of people and thoughts and opinions and how do we take care of everyone and the time away and things like that. And I was talking to a family that I love dearly, the Rosenbergs, and and I mean they'd spent over 80 years at that point serving communities. John Rosenberg was a Holocaust survivor. He and his wife both are featured in the Smithsonian's for their work in civil rights, and they were in a community in Kentucky I was living in. And I just asked them one day, I'm like, how have you guys done this and stayed true to the course that you were on of serving people so long? Like, how does it not wear you down or decide to just do something else? And they were like, I don't know. I guess we were always just trying to build the kind of world we wanted to live in. And I was like, oh, yeah. And so I think I know it doesn't necessarily have a lot to do with tourism or necessarily Stanton specifically, but it has just been something that has stayed with me so much is when we try and come back to what is our purpose, how are we serving, um, is is what we're doing and the time that we're spending building a better world that we hope to live in or that our kids live in. And then when you think of it that way, it doesn't seem quite so heavy and stressful and tiring. It just gets us back to what's the point here of how do we build this together. So shout out to the Rosenbergs if you're listening.
All right. Well, you'll be able to share this episode with them
Yeah.
and that shout out. And I love the theme of the sentiment you shared because in some ways you're building a community. And part of that is a community where people learn from each other. They have a conversation with each other. They can break bread with each other and just enjoy everything that life has to offer, whether it is nature, whether it is, a community where you can interact and feel safe and also have some good food and drink and just watch your family growing up. So I love that there's that community theme underlying what you just shared. So thank you for that. Now, I know we visited the website, but if our listeners would like to learn more about you and Stanton and the work that you're doing with Visit Stanton, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, well, check out our website, of course, visit stanton.com. We're on all the social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. And then also, if anybody listening to this is also wanting to hear from some of the people here, I encourage them to check out our new podcast. It's a limited series that we're chatting with some people that um, not only just about Stanton, that's an aspect of it, but people that are really at such a high level in their particular field that come with such passion and kind of what is their story and how did they get to that point. And then we're fortunate to have them here in our community that we could easily call upon. So that's called the U is silent, we aren't. So if you might see it's Stanton, not Staunton, but that little U is tricky. So we decided to have a little wordplay on that. So we encourage people to check that out too. But if anybody ever needs assistance in their planning, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for.
I love it. I love it. And congratulations on the podcast. I'm going to go add that to my list of favorites and so we get to learn more about it. And that's the beauty of podcasting. It can be driving 2 hours. We're going to go to Stanton for the weekend. Let's learn all as much as we can about it. Whether it's this episode, which I hope folks are going to listen to, but also the U is silent, and they can listen to the stories from your local residents. So I love it. Samantha, it's been a pleasure to get to know you. I'm so glad we were able to connect and have you as a guest on our podcast. And you're a great representative of Visit Stanton. They should be fortunate to have you. And I know the feeling is probably mutual with them and you as well. So
They're
thank you
great
so
too.
much for your time
Thank
today.
you for what you're doing and for the way you're engaging with so many different areas. There's so many places to explore and enjoy. So thank you for the service you're doing of sharing the story of so many great places around the country. So I appreciate what your insight is also.
Thank you so much. Listen, stay in the line. We're going to do a quick close, and you and I can have a final chat. Okay. All right. All right, folks, we have just been chatting with Samantha Johnson, Director of Tourism for Visit Stanton in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. Uh, I'm going to be sharing this episode the minute it gets published. Well, obviously with Samantha, but with my friends who said, Howard, you need to come to this area to live. And I want to say, look what I just did. I just toured Stanton virtually and just a wonderful episode. What a phenomenal and fascinating area. You've got literally it's right in the middle of everything, whether it's nature, whether it's community and really small town, quintessential America. It's right there. Now do go out to the Stanton website at visitstanton.com. Of course, we're going to have a backlink to it as well as to their social sites like Facebook and Instagram. As for us, you can find this episode on our website at outdooradventureseries.com. We also will have a link on our Outdoor Adventure Series pages on LinkedIn and Facebook. The video of this episode, including the tour that Samantha walked us through of their website, will be up on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can listen to this episode wherever you get your podcast from. Until next time, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day, and we look forward to having you join us for a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.